I'm going to introduce tonight Dr. Munir Virani, and he is the CEO of the Raptor Conservation Fund with the United Arab Emirates, the Mohamed bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund. He started there last year, and before that, he was with the Peregrine Fund, and he was the Vice President and Director of Global Conservation Strategy for the Peregrine Fund, based here in Boise, Idaho. With over 25 years of experience in raptor research and conservation, strategic planning, project design, execution, management, and fundraising, Munir's research on birds of prey spans over 4 continents and focuses on creative, holistic, and effective solutions for conservation problems, developing collaborative conservation ventures and capacity building. Munir has conducted extensive research on birds of prey in East Africa, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and most recent strategic conservation portfolio extended to Panama on Harpy Eagles, forest conservation in indigenous communities in the Caribbean islands on the threatened raptors there. His work has garnered several international awards, including the Aga Khan Foundation's Award for Excellence in the Field of Science and Technology, and more recently, the prestigious Green Oscar Award from the Whitley Fund for Nature's for his work on critically endangered vultures in Kenya. Munir has published over 150 scientific and popular articles. His TED Talk on Why I Love Vultures has generated over 1 million views. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Munir Virani.
Thanks very much, John. Yeah. Please give John a big round of applause for all that he's done over the last 2 days. Thank you so much, John. Good evening and salam alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say it is a real pleasure and a privilege to be talking to such a great group of people. I think I gave my last talk to an audience this size way before the pandemic. So it's rather emotional to see so many of you, and I hope I can live up to that expectation. So thank you so much for turning up. And I'd like to talk to you about this brand new fund. It's very exciting. I'm super excited. I heard Mark Williams speak yesterday about moving to Abu Dhabi. It's been 7 years for him. It's only been 7 months for me, so there's a long way to go. And my wife is sitting over there, and she's been such a trooper during this whole experience. So thank you, Zara, for all your support and everything. I would like to start by first offering our apologies for our managing director, His Excellency Mr. Majid Al-Mansouri, who would have been here. It's the holy month of Ramadan, and so unfortunately he was not able to travel. Hopefully he'll be at the next meeting. I also have a message from Gary Timbrell, the President and CEO to the IAF, and he asked me to read this message on behalf of the International Association of Falconry. And he says, "Dear friends in NAFA, in the archives, and in the Peregrine Fund, it has been my dearest wish to be with you all at the Rendezvous, especially since lockdowns and travel restrictions severely affected my annual migrations, north to south and east to west." For those of you who know Gary, he's a fun guy. "My excuse for not being with you is that I've been trapped in an entanglement of red tape with the passport office here in Ireland, which has not been able to get my new passport to me in time. But I will make special efforts to be with you later in the year. In the meantime, as international travel becomes possible again, you're all welcome to visit us at the IAF offices in Brussels, which will host to the new Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Museum of International Falconry, opening later this year. I hope that any of you considering a European vacation will make it a priority to come and see us." So that's the message from Gary. When I got here 2 days ago, and I was at the airport, and I was boarding an Emirates flight to fly to Seattle. And before entering the flight, I saw this big sign. And it's the UAE, where impossible doesn't exist. And I know for many of you who have been to the United Arab Emirates, it's just a whole other world out there. You can imagine what Abu Dhabi was in 1970. This is what it looked like. And within 50 years, this is what Abu Dhabi is now. For a country to do this in 50 years, there must have been a vision. There must have been somebody or a group of people who foresaw this. And the late His Highness Sheikh Zayed wanted to build all this. People advised him against it. And he said, let us build and they will come. Those were his words. And it's the same with the Sheikh Zayed Heritage Wing. Let us build and they will come. With the World Center for Birds of Prey, Chris, build it, they will come. Vision. Dubai held the Expo 2020. During the pandemic, they risked people coming there. They closed their doors on March 31st, and it was visited by over 25 million people. On the last day, there were queues there 5 hours long, 150 pavilions representing and showcasing their countries. The theme, sustainability, mobility, opportunity. That's what it was all about. That place is the future. For the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the vision and philosophy of the late Sheikh Zayed, founding father of the UAE, in 2005, the United Nations chose a team of 7 international personalities branded to be Earth Heroes in recognition of their efforts in protecting the environment, and the late Sheikh Zayed was recognized for his profound efforts in the protection of the environment. His initiatives have continued in the field of environmental protection. Sheikh Zayed ordered the organizing of the first world conference, not a festival, and Kent Carney, thank you for letting me know, a conference on falconry and conservation, which was held in Abu Dhabi at the end of 1976. This conference brought together falconers and falconer raptor biologists from different parts of the world for the first time. And Kent, where's Kent? Kent is the only person in this room who was there at that time. And thank you, Kent, for everything that you have done for falconry and the world. People think the Arab world is all about falcons and falconry, but that's not true. There are initiatives that are, every corner of the United Arab Emirates I visit, I look at the initiatives that are going on over there. The call for global species conservation action. The UAE is the first country in the Middle East and Africa that has pledged to go net zero, carbon neutral by the year 2050. That is a huge undertaking. They are designing their cities to become green and sustainable. They are planting over 1 billion trees. They have an initiative from turtles to marine to landscapes and protected areas. It just blows your mind. You're all familiar with the return of the scimitar horned oryx to Chad. From being extinct in the wild, the UAE's efforts to captive breed and release the scimitar horned oryx and ensure a self-sustaining population back in the wild in Chad is hailed as a major conservation success story. 2 weeks ago, it was announced that the UAE will this year launch the world's first fully regulated carbon trading exchange and carbon clearinghouse, which will be established in Abu Dhabi, a huge step towards their goal of being carbon neutral by 2050. So this is where it comes now. I want to talk to you about the Mohammed bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund. So who are we? We're founded in 2018, so we're very new, only 4 years old. The Mohammed bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund develops transformative and innovative conservation solutions to address key threats facing raptors around the world. Our vision is to ensure that raptors and their habitats are conserved and their extinctions are preempted. Our mission is to support, catalyze, and facilitate raptor conservation programs and concepts that preempt extinctions, deliver impactful conservation, and increased understanding of raptors globally. Because of Sheikh Zayed's love for the natural world, and especially the tradition of falconry, Abu Dhabi has long-standing history in raptor conservation. One construction company wanted to present him with a falcon and asked the Austrian falconer Horst Niester. Did anybody know Horst in this room? No? They wanted to present him with a falcon, so they asked him to present His Highness with a falcon. And on receiving this gift, he asked Niester, "Where in the world are these falconers? I want to know them. I want to learn from them, and they could maybe learn from us. Is it possible to bring them to the desert?" Of special significance in this respect was the initiative to organize the first World Conference on Falconry and Conservation that was held in Abu Dhabi. The conference acted as a launching pad for a strategy devised by Sheikh Zayed to bring falconers into the mainstream of emerging conservation efforts. And the rest, as you all know, is history. Having met Tom Cade, people such as Robert Kenward, John Cooper, Ken Carney, and there were incredible people over there. So I'm just going to play this. Okay.
هذه العادات وهذه اللي من التراث هذا واجب علينا أن نحن نقيمه وأن نعززه لأنه مسرته لشعبنا ولأبنائنا وللوطن.
That video is courtesy of the Emirates Falconers Club in Abu Dhabi. So I had the opportunity and the privilege of accompanying the late Professor Tom Cade and Ken Carney to the 4th International Falconry Festival that was held in Abu Dhabi in 2017. And it was an honor to meet all these people, everybody who was there during the first falconry conference in 1976. If they were deceased, either their spouses or their children accompanied them. And here you can see Tom Cade, and you can also see Ken Carney. Rebecca is also there, so you can see her in the far end. I know Ken Riddle was there somewhere, but maybe I didn't capture him on the photo. But what a great hospitality, just the warmth, the kindness of the people over there, and just getting to know them all was just a great opportunity. We had an opportunity also to go to the desert to hunt hubaras with sakers. And here you can see His Excellency Mr. Majid Al-Mansouri holding the hand of Kent and Tom Cade over there. It was just a memorable experience. And the one thing that I took back from here was just the humility of the people and how they treat visitors in that part of the world. So Abu Dhabi's raptor conservation history goes a long way. We support and host the coordinating unit of the Convention of Migratory Species and the Raptors MOU that is based in Abu Dhabi. We also release the Sheikh Zayed Falcon Release Program, releases thousands of falcons back in the wild in Central Asia as part of this program. In the year 2010, they placed 5,000 artificial nests across the Mongolian steppes, creating annual breeding opportunities for up to 760 pairs of Seika falcons, nearly 429 pairs of upland buzzards, and close to 1,400 pairs of common kestrels. Currently, we're supporting a captive breeding and release program with the Green Balkans in Bulgaria to restore Seika falcons in the southern Balkans, where they went extinct in the early part of 2000. We also explored migratory connectivity in peregrine falcons, as well as many other patterns of Arctic geofalcons. A team of researchers from the UAE, UK, and Russia have been able to pinpoint which gene in peregrine falcons determines how far they fly when migrating. The findings were also made as part of a project that studied 56 tagged peregrine falcons and was conducted by the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi in partnership with the Emirates Falconers Club. Abu Dhabi has also been involved in the foundation of the Peregrine Fund's Geofalcon project in Alaska that came from support from Abu Dhabi on understanding the impacts of climate change of this iconic species, and also funded a major conference on geofalcons and ptarmigans right here in Boise, Idaho. So the three projects that we're currently involved in is the Mongolia Saker Falcon Electrocution Remediation Project, the captive breeding and releases of Saker falcons in Bulgaria, and also looking at some intensive genetics or genomics work of captive bred falcons. Under the bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund are also housed some of the cultural heritage projects. These include the Sheikh Zayed Falcon Release Program, the Sheikh Zayed Falconry Library, the Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Museum of International Falconry, and the Middle East Falconry Archives, along with the Sheikh Zayed Heritage Wing that you all had a chance to visit yesterday. So I'll touch briefly on the work of electrocutions in Mongolia. As many of you know, it was recorded, or at least documented, that 4,000 Saker falcons are being electrocuted annually in Mongolia. And this, because Saker falcons are an integral part of the heritage of the Middle East, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed said, let's go out there and fix it. What will it take to fix it? And so I'll just skip directly to the video. Well, before I do that, the fund's initial project was to design, fund, and implement a project to prevent electrocution of birds of prey by power lines. The project was developed through an MOU with the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia, and implemented with the endorsement of the Ministry of Energy in Mongolia. The ground assistance in Mongolia was done with our in-country partners, the Wildlife Science and Conservation Center of Mongolia and the Mongolian Bird Conservation Center. Now, some of you may recognize this man. This is Dr. Nyemba Batbayer, and he did his master's degree at the Boise State University here in around the year 2000. And out of the 111 graduate students from Boise State University's Raptor Biology program, Nyemba graduated from here, and the other person that graduated was Dr. Hernan Vargas, who works at the Peregrine Fund. And Nyemba has been fantastic in enabling the bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund to get the work done in Mongolia. This is an agreement that was signed by His Excellency Mr. Majid Al-Mansouri and the Minister for Energy in Mongolia. So I'm going to skip to the video now. And they just did it. And they said, now the plan is to upscale that as a model of success and spread it across the range of the Seika falcon. So we're working on a strategy to fix that, and we're inviting other partners to join us on this incredible journey to save not only the Seika falcons, but all the other raptors that die out of this. All right, I'll touch. Another project that we support is the captive breeding release through hacking, method, construction, and installation of metal artificial nests, monitoring of the released birds of the artificial nests, and there's a pair that they're monitoring. These are the colleagues at the Green Balkans who are working on the Reintroduction project. In Bulgaria, as you know, the Seika falcon used to be one of the most common bird species, as hundreds of pairs used to breed in the country. However, as a result of a negative trend of rapid population decline due to a number of anthropogenic factors, the Seika falcon was listed as critically endangered in the Red Data Book of Bulgaria. For 20 years, there was not a single record of breeding in the country. These are some of the reasons for the decline. So in 2015, following a feasibility study that we did and some pilot releases, the fund provided financial support to the Green Balkans, who began a captive breeding program. The ex situ activities started with forming a founding stock of Seika falcons using adult birds that were obtained from breeding centers in Germany, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, along with juvenile birds that were bred from these founders. And then between 2017 and 2019, the composition of the breeding stock was changed by replacing these old birds with younger individuals that were imported from the UK, Austria, Germany, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia. So currently there are between 8 to 12 breeding pairs of Seikas, and every year since the start of the Reintroduction program. So currently, there's also a study that's being conducted focusing on the blood chemistry of the different subspecies of the Seika falcons, in which they're looking at 18 different biochemical parameters that will be compared. The samples have been taken from the breeding group in the Green Balkans Center during the annual prophylactic examinations of the birds, alongside samples from the Bird of Prey Center in another place in Bulgaria. So in total, we have blood collected from 68 Asian Seika falcons, 42 European Seika falcons, and 3 hybrids for reference values. The results of this are still pending. In order to minimize the chance of imprinting of humans, the young chicks are then returned to the aviaries 7 to 10 days after hatching, either in the nests of their biological parents or of foster parents for them to continue the rearing. On the 30th day, the young birds are evaluated for hacking through the surveillance cameras. There are 3 cameras in every aviary to capture courtship attempts, egg laying, and lastly to follow the developments and rearing of the hatchlings. The chicks are then prepared for hacking approximately 30 to 35 days after hatching. Firstly, they are caught in the aviaries using nets and then placed in specialized carriers for transportation to the vet facilities. During the last direct contact, we take morphological measurements of the Seikas, such as weight, tarso-metatarsus girth, and length of beak and wings are recorded. And then the gender of each falcon is determined at the point. As you can see in the table, all the females are highlighted, and they weigh very close to or more than 1 kilogram, while the males are around 800 grams. We involve veterinary school and university students in these activities, and this way, alongside practicing veterinary manipulations, they get to see up close and learn about these rare birds. The young falcons are then marked for identification purposes with a set of 2 rings and a microchip. The metal ring indicates the year and place of hatching. The color of the plastic ring we change every year in order to facilitate the easier ID of observed birds in the wild. And then on the same day, right after the checkup of the hacking of the birds, the release sites are in close proximity to the city of Stara Zagora and where the captive breeding program is located. The birds are kept in the adaptation aviaries for about 10 days in order to get accustomed to the surroundings without risking predation. Food is left for them twice a day, and in very hot weather conditions, 3 times a day. So a total of 115 sakers have been released in Bulgaria for a 10-year period between 2011 and 2021, which includes also the pilot activities before the start of the Reintroduction program. 97 have been released as part of the project through the hacking method, and the goal is to have another 100 birds to be released between now and 2024. So on average about 20 per season. 20 artificial nests have also been constructed and have been placed so far on English oak trees, black poplar trees, and field elm trees as part of a reintroduction project. And by 2025, the plan is to have 30 more of these nests, artificial nests. In addition to the Saker Falcon reintroduction project, so this is just a summary. You know, the sakers went functionally extinct in the Balkans in the early 2000s. The goal is to restore them in the southern Balkans. There's a captive breeding program between 2015 and 2080. 80 falcons were released in the wild. 1 pair bred successfully, and then there's additional momentum for 100 birds. And the idea is to restore the genetic corridor between populations of the Eastern and Central Asia. There's a lot of emphasis now on the genetic management of these captive bred falcons, both with the Saker Falcon captive breeding program, the Falcon captive breeding program, as well as the Falcon release program that His Highness Sheikh Zayed started. The goal is to ensure a genetically healthy and representative founding stock of falcons for release, also to evaluate the origins of these falcons with the program and confirm that they're representative of the recipient population, and to maintain a genetic diversity within the captive population and ensure that captive bred falcons are genetically fit for release in the wild. A little bit about the Sheikh Zayed Falcon Release Program. This was launched in 1995 by the late Sheikh Zayed. The goal was to return wild peregrines and sakers to their original habitat to increase the wild falcon population. Between 1995 and 2021, close to 2,000 falcons were released, of which about 1,200 were peregrines, 769 sakers, and 5 gyrfalcons. There are some birds where we put transmitters on. These are movements of 21 peregrine falcons that were released in Central Asia between 1997 and 2019. So I'll talk a little bit about the cultural heritage projects as well. You may know most of this, as I guess you visited the Sheikh Zayed Heritage Wing, and there's a lot in there as well. So the Sheikh Zayed Falconry Library really seeks to preserve the historical falconry treasures and safeguard the traditions for generations to come. The Middle East Falconry Archives, we launched that in September last year. It's part of the Sheikh Zayed Falconry Library. It is a global home for the heritage and the future of falconry. The MIFA project is which the preservation and documentation of tangible heritage, the manuscripts, are inextricably linked to the safeguarding of this intangible heritage. The stories they tell. By identifying and exploring the manuscripts, the project connects past history to present falconry practices for the benefit of future generations. There's the His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Museum of International Falconry in Brussels, and this is at the home of the headquarters of the International Association of Falconry. I understand that they broke ground 2 weeks ago, and so hopefully we're on track to have this grand opening, hopefully in the summer. The project will develop an interpretive exhibit on the main floor of the International Association of Falconry's headquarters in Brussels. The exhibit will represent and celebrate the ongoing international legacy of falconry with a closer look at falconry in the Middle East. The main theme will be to show UNESCO's recognition of falconry as a global intangible heritage that would not have been possible without the dedication of people such as yourselves and falconers around the world. So thank you for all that you've done. The Sheikh Zayed Heritage Wing, I'm not going to talk much about this because this is John's baby, and you visited it yesterday, and you got a great deal about it. I used to spend hours in there when I was at the Peregrine Fund, and it just meant a great deal to me just to see this. And I know people would come and visit the World Center for Birds of Prey, and then come out again, they just go, wow, what is this? So in conclusion, our future plans at the moment, I've been on the job for 7 months and 9 days. We're still working on a strategy for the bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund. How are we going to do conservation? How are we going to do our grant-making work? We're working on an extended strategy right now so that we can use the success of our work in Mongolia and take that at a greater level. And there's, we're looking for partners, and there's a lot of interest, and that's gaining traction. And there's a great possibility that we'll be organizing a conference towards the end of this year in Abu Dhabi, to have a roadmap that will end electrocutions. It's an easy fix, as you saw in the video. There's those power lines that are killing thousands of birds that are death traps. And then it's working with the international lenders and the multilateral development banks to say, just put it in your financing agreements. The new power lines need to adhere to a certain standard. It's not like climate change where we don't really know what to do. We are continuing to identify partners and those projects that can use this Mongolia project, the success of it, to tackle the threat of raptor electrocutions. We're still within our strategy, looking at how we're going to support projects that are transformative, innovative, and impactful with measurable results. And most importantly, we're looking to invest in raptor conservation leadership, especially in the Middle East region and in those geographies that lack raptor experts. And with that, I will end my talk, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, John, for the opportunity to talk to you guys. They breed on crow's nests, and they breed on other raptor nests as well. And I was told by Joven, I think that's what his name is, I apologize if I didn't get it right, that he said they're starting to see imperial eagles, and that's a really good sign, that there's a strong correlation with imperial eagles and sacred falcons. Yes, sir. I'm still working on a strategy for that, but I mean, people talk about hubars as well, right? That the falconers are using their falcons, they're killing the hubars, and that's not the case. I mean, I was just blown away when I knew that until now they have bred and released close to 500,000 hubara bustards. I mean, that's a great achievement, right? But the habitat loss, and they're being taken by people for food. But it's definitely, and there was a hubara conference that was held last year in September, and there were some great talks over there. And a lot of these studies show that hunting using falcons has absolutely no impact on the populations. Afshin.
All the funds that the UAE is allocating to conservation, I know this because I'm from Iran originally. Thousands of sakers are illegally trapped in Iran and sent across the Gulf into the UAE or Qatar or all the other countries. So what is there any portion of this money that is being allocated to stop this flow?
So first of all, I disagree with you that a lot of these birds are coming into the UAE because they have very strong protocols, and as you know, you cannot trap wild falcons in the UAE. Whether they're going to other places, I'm not sure at this point. At the moment, the fund is still working on its conservation strategy, and right now our principal focus is to tackle the electrocution problem. It may change in the future. You know, I have a very small team right now. It's a relatively new fund. We're still working out many things, developing partnerships, and hopefully over time, you know, you can't solve all the problems, right? And I know it is a huge problem, and I'm learning a lot in that part of the world. But I get what you're saying.
You're doing the reintroduction of the Saker and the falcons. Are there any other programs aimed at the game species, the prey species? Since habitat loss was one of the major problems.
So the work in Bulgaria is done by our partners. We're overseeing it and we're providing financial support. I know they were releasing some game birds over there. I can get back to you on what they're doing on that.
In fact, this is on a multi-front.
Sure, and there is a lot of information. If you go onto their website, it's the Green Balkans, and they do a fantastic job over there.
And
Thank you.